Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the award-winning Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. We are currently deep into the NBA playoffs with the NBA Finals coming up. So there is no one better, in my opinion, to discuss his personal journey in the finals than this week's guest, the legendary Robert Big Shot Bob Horry. Robert won 7 championship rings. Let me repeat that. 7 championship rings. He is the only non-member of the historic Boston Celtics championship teams of the 50s and 60s to have won more than 6 championships. In fact, Robert's teams never lost the finals they participated in. Those are amazing stats. Robert won titles with 3 different teams. The Houston Rockets in 1994 and 1995, the Lakers in 2000, 2001, and 2002, and the San Antonio Spurs in 2005 and 2007. I covered all those finals, by the way, so Robert and I have a deep history together on the court and off the court. We covered a lot and had a blast catching up on this episode. I hope you guys enjoy it too, and as always, I'll see you on the backside. Well, it's so great to see you, Robert Horry, my good friend. Welcome to the Legends of Sport podcast. Man, it's always great to see you, Rob. You know, I was thinking today about how far back you and I go, and we actually go back to the beginning of your career in the NBA.
Yeah.
But you've been a great friend in general, but a great friend of the podcast. You were super patient with me. I don't know if you remember when I started doing this crazy behind the microphone thing at Time Warner back in the day. And I think you were like my first or second guest. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but you know.
Hey, as long as you know how to have fun, that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're looking good, Rob. I love what you got going on behind you there, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm doing it from my TV room because my office is we doing some remodeling in there, so it's all paint and smells like paint. So
yeah, it looks great though. Really good.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob, you know, I wanted to have you on to catch up, of course, but you know, we're gonna use this episode to preview the NBA Finals, and there's no one better on the planet, in my opinion, since we lost the great Bill Russell, than you. I mean, an owner of 7 rings, my friend. And then I'm thinking, okay, so he won 7 rings. Like, how many did he lose? And I actually found out you never lost an NBA Finals.
No, never lost the NBA Finals, and more important, never lost in the first round. You know,
my God.
that's like, to me, that's one of the important things, because if you don't win the first round, you don't go nowhere.
That's incredible. Were you in the first round? Were you in the playoffs every year of your career?
Every year.
Even with Phoenix?
Well, I was only in Phoenix like 3 months, and then I got traded to the Lakers.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Okay. So I was very lucky, you know. And you think about my first 3 to 4 years, or was it where the first round was only 5 games, so you had to kick butt quick.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, man. So you won 2 in Houston, 94, 95, 3 with the Lakers in the great three-peat with Shaq and Kobe, of course, and then 2 with the Spurs. I mean, you have played with the most incredible talent in the modern era of basketball. I mean, seriously. I mean, if you look at Houston, and you know, I'll leave guys out, but you played with, you know, Hakeem, of course, and Mario Elie and Kenny Smith and all those guys, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to the Lakers. Of course, you're with Shaq and Kobe, and then you're with the big 3 with the Spurs with Duncan Ginobili and Tony Parker. I mean, were you pinching yourself? You're playing with these like iconic players? I mean, and here's the deal, Rob. I want to go back to the first finals in '94. That was your first finals. What was the feeling like? What was the mood in the locker room? Rudy T was the coach, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I think for me, we'll start off with the first thing you said about pinching myself.
Yeah.
When I was coming out of Alabama, I really, really, really wanted to play alongside Hakeem Olajuwon. I had a pair of his Etonics, and then when you talk about pinching yourself, is when you have that moment to be on the court with him, but more importantly, help him win his first championship. You know, you think about in college where he didn't. I used to joke about this all the time. If you'd have boxed out, you'd have had a college championship.
Right?
I said, now we're together, we're gonna win a championship. And we won a
Oh,
championship in '94.
yeah.
And it was so crazy because I look at our team,
Hmm.
going up against probably a great friend of yours and Pat Riley with the Knicks and Rudy T, the one guy that, ran plays for me and believed in me by drafting me. And, it was just a fun atmosphere, but he was always, on us to be better.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say what he used to always say. I just give you a little snippet. He always meant F the other guys in the locker room. It's all about us. We need to do what we need to do, and
Yeah.
we'll take care of business. There's a reason we have one of the best records in the basketball. And he was just, from his spirit and his fire. A lot of that comes from when you play the sport,
Hmm.
so you can really think the sport.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I know you had some successful guys that came out of the film rooms and Spoelstra, but I'm not a big component of having a coach where I'm looking at him like, do you ever know what's going on? Have you ever been in this situation before?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
know that was my first deep dive into him and playing with Rudy T because he's been there, done that.
Hmm.
So we all kind of perked up and listened to him.
Yeah, and never underestimate the heart of a champion, right?
Correct.
This
Yes.
famous,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
was crazy that championship, the first one, well, and the second one, but we're all in the locker room and there's chaos and champagne's flying all over the place, and my job is always to find the star player. I'm assigned to the star player every single
Mhm.
finals and just stick with him till the end, till he actually leaves the building. From the moment the horn goes off till he leaves the building. And I'm looking for Hakeem and I'm looking for Hakeem. I cannot find him. Nobody can find him. And he's in the back, like in the back of the training room, right?
Hmm.
What was the name of the trainer, the great trainer that passed
Ah,
away?
God, I can't think of his name. I
Oh,
remember
he was such a
Dark Horse
great
was it?
guy. Yeah.
Dark Horse. I can't think of his name right
But
now. Dark
but
Horse was our equipment guy.
yeah.
Ray McIlroy.
Yeah,
Ray McIlroy.
so he's
Yeah.
back there. He was back there like it's a normal game, and all hell's breaking loose. He said, "Well, I can't really be out there, because of the religion thing, and they
Yes.
can't be around champagne." And I said,
Uh-huh.
"If I brought you the trophy, would you at least No, I can't do that." But he could have
Yeah.
been more gracious. But the fans of today who never got to see him play live, man, it's just you know. I was at Madison Square Garden the other day for a Knicks Philly game 2, and first of all, the
Hmm.
place is bananas because I grew up there and I forgot how crazy it is. But
Yes.
to see Karl Anthony Towns, it looks like that he's got some Hakeem moves now, where he
Uh-huh.
didn't before. He's got some low post moves. He's got a little Patrick Ewing going for him, and that warmed my heart because I kind of missed that inside game, But Hakeem was just a killer,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Akeem was on a whole different level. People look at the way Jokic and Embiid play, and
Hmm.
Dream did all that before, but
Yeah.
it's like I think people understand we would go in practice and he'd be shooting threes with the best of us,
Mm.
but you didn't
Yeah.
need to in a game because you couldn't stop him in the post. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that when people grade players now, especially the centers of the day, well, was it this? Was it that? I'm like, well, he had all that. He didn't have to do it.
Right.
Because we did all that. And he knew if he went in the post, it was gonna make it easier for us. And
Yeah.
and and that's what I really loved about playing with Dream. He wasn't a vocal guy. He just played
Mhm.
hard each and every night. And when he did say something, you
Mhm.
listen because
Yeah.
he was coming from a place of honesty
Mhm.
and a place of, from wanting you just to be better. And that's the fun time.
Mhm.
You hear about players talk about guys all night just talk
Mhm.
just to be talking. Like, dude, say something with a purpose. Just don't keep saying because after a while,
Yeah.
it's like I'm listening to an episode of the Peanut wah 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 wah. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
just gotta when those guys who don't say much, when they
Yeah.
speak, you listen.
Yeah, that's what the Showtime guys say about Kareem, about Cap.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cap could go a week without saying anything, but when he said something, everybody paid attention.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love covering those teams. Both those teams. My good friend Bill Baptiste was your team
Hmm.
photographer. He's still a character, Bill, but had a lot of fun in the old Summit, man. That was a great place to
Yeah.
work. Then of course you come to the Lakers and you're with these two guys who are just, I mean, arguably the greatest one-two punch in my opinion that I'd ever seen. But I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't go back to Elgin and Jerry and all those guys. But um, you know, that and the way you fit into that team, into that
Yeah.
dynasty, they couldn't have won it with. Obviously, they couldn't have won three without you because you hit one of the greatest shots in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I play with Shaq, play with Kobe, but you know what, a duo that's never talked about, and
Hmm.
I don't think anybody ever had 40 and 40 in the playoff game. You think it was
Mm.
Dream and Clyde.
Yeah.
And I only got like one, with one good season with him. And then the
Mm.
next year I was traded to LA. But Clyde to me was one of those players that nobody I talk about was just one of the sweetest and smoothest players. But when I got,
Hmm.
Kobe and Shaq, you think about Dream and Clyde, and you think about Kobe and Shaq.
Hmm.
You think about Dream with a little finesse, Shaq with just raw power. You think about Clyde with his smoothie. At
Hmm.
the time, Kobe was still coming into his game, and
Yeah.
he was just like, a bull in a china shop, and it was just so weird to see that, watch that,
Yeah.
and to understand that, as a team, you have to give credit to Rick, B. Shaw, Fish,
Hmm.
especially Ron Harper,
Hmm.
and Horace Grant and AC Green, all of us vets.
Hmm.
Most of us have already won championships,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been there, and we did there every day trying to tell, Shaq and Kobe, yo, this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
It ain't about you two, it's about us. If you
Yeah.
don't make us happy,
Yeah.
you two ain't gonna be happy.
That's right. Shaq always
And
talked about the big dog eating, but
yeah,
what about the rest of the dogs over
yeah.
there?
I'm like, we're the scouts. We go out and find trouble first before y'all get there.
Right.
But it,
Right.
it was a totally fun atmosphere.
Hmm.
You think about, I think we had more fun in the locker rooms after practice than we had on the court winning championships together. But it was a great chemistry. We had a lot of fun with one another. I hope and pray, even though we lost Kobe, that
Hmm.
we able to do what the Showtime Lakers did and be able to get together, man.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, how
Hmm.
many teams have ever three-peated, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Not
yeah.
not too many.
Hmm.
Yeah, that Showtime group was special. But I think of all the other teams that I've covered, and this includes the Bulls and the Spurs and the great other dynasties, I think you guys would be the next in line to be able to have a reunion like that. Because look,
Yeah.
first of all, I saw all you guys out there for Kobe's last game, which is
Hmm.
insane to believe that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and the love is still there,
Hmm.
everybody, just was it was just the camaraderie was just
Yeah.
unbelievable on that
Yeah,
squad.
the
Yeah.
one thing about that is like is when a team is a good team.
Hmm.
You look at the way OKC rallies behind one another.
Hmm.
Um, that shows you a good team. We
Yeah.
had when teams have fun together,
Hmm.
and when guys want to sit in the locker room and not go home to their families,
Yeah.
that's know you got a good team. And we've spent countless hours in the locker room just laughing and talking before we went home to our families. And I
Yeah.
think, when you see guys come in late to practice, well, I won't say late, just
Mhm.
in time enough to start practice and then vote because they go do their own things to other places. We were like, yo, we gonna shoot tomorrow here. Me and you gonna work together because you working. Oh, I see this that you messing up on. And
Mhm.
I think after every practice almost, me and Shaq shot free throws together. So
Yeah.
that's why I will always go up to him in games and just talk trash to him, like, "Yo, man, you suck tonight." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just to try to make him go back to what we were doing in practice because I
Yeah.
seen him make so many in a row. So, I
Yeah.
could go on and on about all the good times we had before games. That what made us play so hard for one another because of the brotherhood and the band of brothers, like they say, and the love we have for one another.
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, never see a dynasty like that. I mean, with that dominant of a
Mhm.
center and, I don't even call him the second banana, but the guy, on his right or left side being as great as Kobe was, it just was incredible, man.
Yeah.
So then you go from that atmosphere to literally a military atmosphere under Greg
So
Popovich. I
true.
mean, I mean, it couldn't have been more military than it was
Yes.
in the military.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story.
Mm.
All the championships that the Spurs won, they never let us in the locker room afterwards. I mean, it was always in the training room or wherever, but there was never like a locker room celebration or
Seriously?
anything. Yeah, it was
Uh,
crazy. Yeah. But playing with those guys, those three must have been an amazing experience too. I mean, three different dudes for sure. But
Yeah,
they made it
you
work.
know, it was so weird when I first got there. I think I've had the most awkward feeling ever in basketball.
Hmm.
You think about it, I get there and in 2004, 2003, 2004 season,
Yeah.
and they're getting presented their rings. And I'm sitting on the bench like, this don't feel right.
Yeah. That's
I'm usually walking out there getting the ring. That's the most awkward and that is the worst feeling ever where you with a team that just beat your butt. They always say,
yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like a situation, and this is no slight at Kevin Durant,
Mm-hmm.
where you beat me and then I go join you.
Yeah.
I've joined the Spurs because the Lakers let me go at the last minute and I had no home to go to. So
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
Spurs was like, hey, we got money, come to us. And so I was okay,
Yeah.
so that's how
Yeah.
I ended up there. It was only a 1 year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this team.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a different kind of atmosphere. Like you
Yeah.
say, it's a military atmosphere. And I'm like a loosey goosey type of guy. I like to just play basketball, read, and react. And when I got there my first year, I felt like a dumbass, excuse my language, because you would see a back door and you would cut, and they'd be
Yeah.
looking at you like, you don't know the play? Like, no, I had a back door and I had a layup. You just should have passed the ball.
Yeah.
And it was just so structured. It was just a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I can rock with this. And then,
Yeah.
there were moments where, Pop used to call it the Robert Horry thing. Go do the Robert Horry thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then
Right.
I'll run up and do the Robert Horry thing. And so, but it was so weird. And then, the next year I said, I like this. I said, I see what we got.
Yeah.
Because we lost to, the Lakers.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy thing because we had to sleep on a plane because our plane broke down. And then we got
Oh,
to LA late.
I
And
didn't
then
know
we
that.
end up
Okay.
losing that series. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not blaming it on that, but it was just
Yeah.
a weird way the series to start off. We ended up losing
Yeah.
that series, and I was like, "Oh no, we're good. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going anywhere." So I actually signed a league minimum,
Mm-hmm.
1 year league minimum, to
Mm-hmm.
play for them one more year. We won the championship that next year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That was crazy. And then 2006 was that crazy finals against Miami, right?
yeah. But
Yeah.
no, the 2000, yeah, 2006, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, 2006. No, we lost to who that
I
was.
don't know, but Miami won the finals that year.
Yeah, we lost to Dallas. So 2006, we
Oh
lost
yeah,
to
it was
Dallas.
Dallas. That's
That
right.
was the Spurs
Yeah.
fans always get mad at me. They think I be hating on the Spurs fan. I was like, I'm an honesty guy. I'm gonna tell the truth. I said the reason the Lakers got rid of me because I sucked in the playoffs. I was 3 for like 38 from three. Okay, they think I'm washed up to move on. I understand that, and people don't say like we were up in that game against Dallas, and they were saying don't foul, and Manu Ginobili fouls Dirk. He makes the one. He goes make to the free throw. We lose in overtime, and then they go on
That's
to
right.
play.
Remember?
In the finals. And I think that's Dwayne Wade and Shaq year they won. It's
Yep.
just
That was the
like
first one. Yeah.
and it's like for me, I'm like if Manu doesn't foul, we might three-peat.
Yeah.
And it's one of
Yeah.
those things that nobody understands. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a great atmosphere. I love playing for Pop. I love playing alongside those guys,
Yeah.
even though those the most boringest dudes ever.
Yeah, I
I
bet.
love those guys. Hey, when you talk about, hey, we're gonna do basketball and we're gonna go home.
I
We're gonna
go
do
home.
basketball, we're gonna go home.
No
That's who they were.
socializing, nothing. And San Antonio is a different kind of town. I mean, you're in
Yeah,
Houston, a big city. You're in LA, big city. You go to San Antonio, it's the only game in town,
correct.
obviously. It's a
Hmm.
very small town that
Oh,
live
really
and
small.
they live and die by their Spurs, right?
Uh-huh.
But a great atmosphere, a great place to play.
Yeah. And
Um,
think about the Spurs too, like if you're a player that likes to go out,
mhm.
Pop gonna hear about it because you can go out, you get home at 12 o'clock next day. He's like, why were you out at 12 o'clock at night?
Yeah,
Like, what dude? I wasn't even doing anything. I was at a restaurant eating.
he's
I'm
got
like, you
people.
was out too late. I'm like, dude, I'm a grown ass man. I can stay out as late as I want. If we ain't got no game the next day, I'm disciplined.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Mm,
So, Rob, you played for some really amazing coaches, right? And
yeah.
and I don't know anything about your college coach, Wimp Sanderson. I
Hmm.
mean, I know he's famous, of course, but what was he like to play with? And like coming out of high school, what kind of system did he run, and how did you fit into that?
It's so weird. When I came out of high school, I was the number one player in the state of Alabama, and I was just like highly recruited by Alabama. I didn't want to go to Alabama. I wanted to go to Georgia Tech
Oh, I didn't know that.
because,
Okay.
yeah, because I wanted, growing up in Alabama, as soon as you say Alabama, you think football,
Yeah.
right? My high school football,
Right.
and I wanted to go somewhere where they love and respect basketball. I said, we going to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech football team sucks. Then the ACC, the basketball conference. I want to go to Georgia Tech,
Yeah.
but they had their hooks in my mom, not me. I mean, in
Really?
Alabama, but since I was a
Okay.
sophomore, so it was a done deal.
That's
So I
funny.
ended up going to Alabama, and I think what I like best about Wimp,
Mm-hmm.
you know, most coaches come in and say, "Oh, I have this system. I run this system."
Yeah.
Wimp was really good. Like, say, "Oh, this is my players. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
adapt my system to my players." And you look at the teams we had some horses. You know, I could talk about it in, you know, Michael Ainsley,
Yeah.
then David Benoit, Keith Askins, you know, Latrell
Latrell. Yeah.
Sprewell,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Jason Caffey, Roy Rogers.
Yeah.
It's a host of guys who played in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I think for me, he allowed me to be me. He didn't say, "Oh, you was you know." When I first got to Alabama, I was a small forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you know, as time went on, we didn't have any bigs. They looked at me like, "Okay, Robert, you got to play center." Like, I can't guard Shaq. I
Center?
can't do guard Dwayne Shinsis. I can't guard these big dudes. I'm a small forward,
They
right?
try to kill you?
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
know, I think that was the best thing for me because it prepared me for the NBA.
Yeah.
I got beat up a lot and I had to use my quickness
Yeah.
against some people. I remember, I don't remember who the female announcer was. We was playing someone in the NCAA tournament. I came down and hit like four straight threes.
Mm.
And she was like, "What is he doing? He's a center. He's not supposed to do that." I'm like, "See, lady, do your homework. I'm just playing center by default, you know?"
Right. Yeah. Try saying that to Wemby now at 7'5", but
I
a
know
whole
it.
different
And
story.
yeah.
I'm just thinking that Shaq probably never let you live down you having to guard him in college. I mean, I just can't
Oh,
even imagine. Yeah.
I sent him this someone sent me a clip of me and him playing this against college and like he like dunking on me and it was on point where we got into like a little tussle and I stepped to him and I sent it to him. I said, "Man, I was about to put my hands on you." He started back laughing
What?
because we used to go at it. When I next I'll send it to you. It's kind of funny, but you know, we
Oh,
had some
man.
battles, but we had a guy on our team by the name of Marcus Webb.
Hmm.
He was the number one player in the state for football as a tight end, number
Yeah.
five in the country recruit, but he broke his ankle like his sophomore year and gave up football. He
Okay.
was 6'9". He played a couple years with the Boston Celtics.
Hmm.
But he used to guard Shaq. And I kid Shaq, so you know, I bring out Marcus Ware. He's the only one I see bag Shaq down and dunk on him.
Really?
And he was that good, but he just
Wow.
wasn't disciplined enough to, you know, to stay in the NBA. But
Oh my God.
I had some. You think about it,
Mm.
at one point in time, this is what I started in five: James Robinson,
Mhm.
Latrell Sprewell,
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
Jason Caffey, and Roy Rogers. That's
Wow.
five pros that started at one point.
How far, what's the furthest you guys got in the tournament?
Sweet 16, man. That's as far
Yeah.
as we can get.
Yeah. All
You
right.
know, the one year I thought we were going to be really good was my senior year.
Hmm.
We lost one of our best players. He tore his knee up right in the playing Arkansas in the SEC tournament. And my big guy Marcus Webb hurt his back, so we
Mm.
dropped. And then we got beat by the national championship that year in North Carolina. You know, they went
Yeah.
on. That's
Yeah.
the Chris Webber timeout year. So.
Ah.
Yeah,
Ah.
we got beat by North Carolina, who eventually won the national championship. It's like the NCAA didn't like me because
Yeah.
my first year, I was in the same bracket with Michigan.
Hmm.
They went on to win it that year, even though we got beat before we got to them.
That was
My
the
soft
Fab Five? The name?
No, that was Glenn Rice,
Oh,
Morrell,
those guys. Right.
that one. Then that's my second year.
Yeah.
We got beat by Loyola Marymount. I missed the shot at the buzzer. That's the year Hank Gallis died. They went on the
Hmm.
next game was UNLV.
Hmm.
They got beat by UNLV, who went on to win it. And then my junior year was the only time they had us in the favor. But
Mm.
James Robinson had sprained his MCL. I
Mm.
tore my groin, and we had to play Arkansas with Todd Day, Lee
Mm.
Mayberry,
Mm.
Oliver Miller. We
Mm.
got beat. It's like,
Oh,
why do y'all keep doing this to me? We
uh,
got a good team. Just put me in the right
yeah, the
bracket.
brackets were not kind to you, my friend. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Hmm.
So Rob, you entered the NBA draft. First of all, you were a senior, right? But you
Correct.
hadn't
Hmm.
graduated. You went back later to get your degree, which is
Yes, I did. Yeah.
amazing. But you're
Hmm.
4 years there in Alabama. You selected 11th by the Rockets in the 2012 20 I'm sorry, 1990. I'm making you younger than you are, my friend. In the 1992 draft, which was a
Yeah.
pretty amazing draft. I mean, you
Yes.
had,
Hmm.
Shaq and Zoe going 1 and 2. Then what surprised me about that draft, with no diss to Christian Laettner, was that he went third. Okay, I mean he had a great college career.
Hmm.
Um, I think you could have probably gone third, fourth, maybe in that draft, but I don't know.
You know,
Um,
it's so
yeah.
funny. I draft that draft, you know, and it's I thought, I'm gonna be honest, I thought the
Mhm.
draft went like it should have, except for one pick.
Mm.
And I thought I should have went 10th instead of
Mm.
11th. You know, and
Well,
that's no disrespect to Adam Keefe. I just thought I had
yeah,
just
I didn't
kicked your
keep
butt
right, right,
in the NCAA tournament,
right.
you know, and then I just thought I've been better, but Atlanta
Mhm.
didn't need me. They
Yeah,
already had Dominique, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And so, and I was glad I fell to Houston. And I look at that draft, you know, you think about, you know, Jimmy Jackson, Walt Williams,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Todd Day, Walt,
Yeah,
Clarence
Latrell,
Weatherspoon, you
your
know,
teammate Latrell went in the
yeah.
first round as well.
Yeah, he felt like the 23, and
Yeah.
you know that you know, and I think for him,
Mm-hmm.
he went to the exact right team because
Yeah.
Nelly made him a player.
Uh-huh.
Because Spree in college couldn't go left to save his life. That dude would go left and come right back to that right. He would literally come down the left side like this with his right hand so he can set up and go right. And I think Nelly forced him to get better, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
because the way Nelly played that system, I watched Spree go from like an okay player to a great player. And I'm like, damn, I ain't know where was this in college? We would have won a
yeah.
national championship had all this. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think for me, falling 11 was, you know, everybody needs to be in the right position. I think
Mm-hmm.
with me being in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
it put me in the right position because I think about the way I learned basketball,
Mm-hmm.
playing with Dream, Otis, and, you know, Tree Rollins.
Yeah.
You know, Tree Rollins used to make me go home, pack my clothes up, and meet him at the airport because in my first year in the league, we flew commercial.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, man, I got to go all the way home. And I lived in Sugar Land, which was like, man, like 45 minutes from practice. Because back then we didn't have a practice site. We might practice at TSU,
Sure. Yeah, I
we might
remember.
practice at
Yeah.
HBC. It was all over the place, right? So, and he always wanted me to travel. And we'll sit there and we'll just
Yeah.
talk about the business of basketball, what I want to do in life, you know, how to
Mm.
save my money, who to watch out for. And it was just little things like that that was just fantastic because
Yeah.
the knowledge that we have of, you know, that's passed on was not like that back then. You
Yeah.
know, it was more like a trial and error. Now you got the NBA who has all these money managers come out. They
Mhm.
have guys that you can call up if you
Yeah.
want to, investigate someone.
Yeah.
So it was a different time. So I was very fortunate. I had a veteran team
Mm-hmm.
that helped guide me.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I want to talk, Robert, about Summer League. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and you know we're doing some work with Summer League. We're actually going to be doing 4 episodes leading up to NBA Summer League, which is in July. And we're talking to players like Kyle Kuzma and
Hmm.
Langston Galloway, guys who actually made their mark in Summer League.
Hmm.
And I know it was not the NBA Summer League as we know it now, where all 30 teams go to Vegas. You
Yeah.
you actually played in the Rocky Mountain Review, right?
Yes.
In
Uh-huh.
in Denver, I guess, or Salt Lake City. I'm sorry.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Hmm.
Um, what was that experience like for you? You know, you're a pro. I mean, you
Yeah.
drafted, you have a team, and now
Yeah.
you got to go compete against the guys, right?
Yeah, it was weird because I had some guys like, yo, man, you got your contract, man. Help me out, man. Let me shine. And it was weird because, you know, back then those guys was trying to, you know, you had like the Rockets had like 3 or 4 spots.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we're gonna bring in this, you know, because they made vets come and we would play.
Really? I didn't
And
know
it
that.
was like, and Rudy T had to come on, man, you need to shoot the ball.
Uh,
I said, well, you know, I got this vet that I'm like, yo, man, I'm trying to make the team. Can
yeah,
you help brother out, right?
yeah,
And it was the weirdest situation. Then all of a sudden,
yeah.
you're going up against, you know, certain teams would bring like, I remember Dallas. You know, Dallas had that weird mixture of a team. They would bring their whole team. I'm
Wow.
like, and they would just be playing, right? Because they had a young team
Uh-huh.
and they were trying to get them to, you know, gel together and they be playing. I'm like, man, I'm getting my butt kicked
Mm.
because I'm not I'm like, what am I doing here? Then next time I told dude, I said, man, you gotta get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
Because I got these guys busting my butt looking like I don't belong. And so I just learned how to just, you know what, you figure it out. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my 15 to 20 and
Mhm.
then I'll let you get yours after I get mine.
Right. But there was no concern that you weren't going to make the team. You had a
No,
contract. You
I had a
right.
contract, yeah.
Right, but what's so interesting what you're telling me is that like team like Dallas would bring their whole squad. It's like this,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
basically a training camp in the summer. I mean,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
unheard of now. Now it's
Yeah.
it's it's the drafted guys, the guys trying to make teams,
Hmm.
walk-ons. You know,
Yeah.
Langston Galloway told a great story about, he was a highly touted player in high school and college, went undrafted. And
Hmm.
his agent said, "Well, you better go like show something at summer league," and he ended up doing it and got a
Yeah.
contract with the Knicks. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
know, the thing about this is the thing I try to tell so many. There's so many people who are not seen appropriately. And you just got to go out and go these summer leagues and
Mhm.
just play.
Yeah.
I was just telling this to Sky Clark, UCLA player. I was telling him, I said, dude,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the best thing now. When you go to these camps, nobody's your friend. I said,
Hmm.
you play the right way and you get yours. If you got a shot, you take it. If you
Hmm.
don't have a shot and you take a bad shot, they're gonna look at you like, oh, he's a self. And it's a fine line to figure it out. I said, you smart enough player where you gotta say, you come down, you go at someone.
Hmm.
You don't try to be someone's friend because right now it's about the business of basketball, and your business can be great if you play a little basketball.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've been to a few training camps for the Kings, the hockey
Hmm.
team, and you see these guys that they, they have to do something. They usually get in a fight to kind of call the coach's attention. Of course, you guys couldn't do that, but
Yeah.
it's always fascinating and it was back then to go to summer league, and it still is. But
Hmm.
to see some of the older guys back then trying to, show what they can do and that they can
Yeah.
still make it,
Yeah.
and older meaning what, like 26, 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I had a
Incredible.
game with what was Jack? What was he I think he passed away. He was Dennis Rodman's guy.
Hmm.
Jack so he
Jack
was on.
Haley. Jack
Yeah,
Haley.
yeah, Jack
Yeah.
Haley. He's
Yeah.
like, Rob, I can make team. So I come down, like I do something, I throw it,
Yeah.
and he was like, and it hit him in the face, and it broke his nose. He's like, and he bleeding, right? He's like, damn, Rob, I didn't know you had that in your game. My bad. I'm like, I said, dude, I said, you gotta understand, this is something I can show you what I could do. I just can't do it when I'm playing with
Right.
Dream.
Oh my God.
So
That's
he was like, and
amazing.
it was like weird because he was like, man, he was like, and I was, I fell in love with him because his personality,
Yeah.
he's just gung ho type of guy.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And wow, I'm like, Jack, you ain't that damn good. I'm like, I'm not about to sacrifice my game for you, you
Yeah.
know.
Did
And
he
I was,
even have, I mean,
yeah,
oh, God rest his soul, and he was a
yeah,
good guy, Jack Haley. I
great
spent
guy.
time with. Did he even have a game? I mean, what was his game? Seriously,
I
he was just
I
really
don't know.
tall, I guess. I
He was
don't
just
know.
a big guy.
Yeah.
Back then, you think about how many guys in the NBA should thank Shaq for their team picking him up. Just, oh, we need you to beat up Shaq.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
See, and,
true.
and they think about that
Good
nowadays. It's
point.
like you don't get that. They throw a bunch of young guys on the end of the bench. It's like, oh, we can develop. I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
can't. Because you're gonna draft someone the next year
Right.
and that's gonna bump them down. It's all right, we can develop him. Oh no, you can't. And it's just so weird now.
Oh, that's funny.
Mhm.
So, Rob, is your son CJ? Is he at UCLA? Right? Was he?
He's transferring.
Where's he going?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We trying to find a home for him. I know we got to go backwards to go forward because everybody was like, oh, he doesn't have any tape.
Hmm.
And we understand that. It goes back to, everybody wants these old guys now. I'm like, okay, this ain't the Indiana who's just playing football. We got a 25-year-olds out there, but that's how basketball is.
Uh,
And I think the state of basketball is kind of crazy because you look at the NBA. The NBA would draft everybody that's 20 and under, but the college teams want everybody that's 25
mm,
to 23 to 25 because we
mhm.
need veteran guys.
Yeah.
As now, which is forcing kids to go JUCO or D2, D3, and then it's okay, I gotta go just because I know I'm
Mhm.
not old enough. It's the weirdest system now with how it is now.
Yeah.
And you think, and me and my wife, we sit around sometimes mad at each other because we feel like, well, we should have held him back. No, he shouldn't
Mhm.
because he's too smart
Mhm.
to be held back. But
Mhm.
everybody he played with was 20, and he was, 18 graduating. Everybody's graduated 20. I'm like, did we
Yeah.
do him a disservice? I'm like, but it's
Yeah.
for a
It's a little
parent.
backwards. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you don't, and it's for me, it's like I remember when we was growing up,
Mhm.
if you got held back, we would just laugh at you and call you a dumbass. Now
Right.
you get held back and you a smart ass because you got the advantage
Yeah.
to beat
Yeah.
everybody up.
Well, I wish him the best, man, wherever he ends up.
Appreciate it.
It'll be
Yeah.
great.
Hey,
Well,
we'll be all right. Hey, if he ain't
yeah.
gonna make it in the league, he's gonna be sewing GM one day because he
Yeah.
knows basketball. He tell me stuff sometimes I have to use on the show of Spectrum.
There you go.
And I don't give him credit. I make like it's my
I
my
love it.
idea.
I love it. Hey, last two things really quick.
Mhm.
You when you were at the Lakers, of course, Jerry West, Mr. Clutch himself,
Yeah.
the logo is,
Mhm.
is overseeing the team. I mean, the greatest clutch shooter in the history of the league. And then you come along and you're a clutch. Did you guys ever have a discussion about just being clutch? Did that ever
No,
come up?
I wish it would have, man. I
Yeah.
had a couple of conversations with Jerry, and he was just, a fantastic individual. And when
Yeah.
you talk to individuals who understand the sport
Hmm.
and live and die the sport like he did,
Yeah.
it was scary.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got to the Lakers.
Hmm.
And we had a conversation. He was like, he said, I don't think you belong to Phoenix anyway. It just doesn't fit you. You need a center. You know how fast Jerry. One of the things people
Yeah.
like when Jerry gets to talk, he talks kind of
Oh yeah.
fast,
And
right?
he doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna give you a good contract, but I can't give you no more than this now. And I'm like, okay. And
Mm.
I'm very grateful to him because he got me out of Phoenix, number one. Number
Mhm.
two, he gave me my first big contract.
Mhm.
And number three, he just believed in me. You
Mhm.
think about when the Lakers cleaned house, you think you got rid of two All-Stars, Eddie Jones and Nick Van Exel, and then kept me around because he knew what I could bring to the team. It wasn't just about talent, it's about respect
Mhm.
and having that ability to communicate with your teammates. And I
Mhm.
think I thank Jerry for not, tossing me out the door because who knows, how my career would have went from, if I'd have got one of those guys who got tossed, like, when I say toss, I mean in a bad way,
Yeah, no, I got
like
it.
Eddie and Nick, because
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
I was in a great situation that was worked very well for me.
Yeah, well, he
Mhm.
was one of a kind, and we
Yeah.
miss him. And there's a big void in the basketball world.
Hmm.
He was a great friend. I don't know if you saw the documentary; it was terrific.
Yes, yes,
That
yes.
just came out. So, Rob, I love seeing you on Spectrum. Your insight, the way you work with Big James and anybody who comes through
Yeah.
with Geeter. So, let's hope the Lakers. We're talking now. They're still in the playoffs. They're still breathing. Um, I think when this airs, we'll probably have put them to bed for the season, but that's a whole other story. But I know you're enjoying that, right? You're
Yes,
enjoying new life, in front of the
correct.
camera and stuff, right? Yeah.
Correct. It's what 13, 14 years now.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah.
it's something I never ever thought I would do.
Yeah, me either.
Because
Joined the club. I
yeah,
same way. Yeah.
for me, you think about me, a little country boy from Alabama, a little twang every now and then. Sometimes I slur my words and certain things like that may come out. And I never thought I would be doing this. And
Yeah.
I have so much fun doing it. You
Yeah.
think about Brez, Allie,
They're all
you
great.
mentioned Geeter,
Yeah.
sometimes when me and Fish get a chance to work together, it's fun. And I
Hmm.
hadn't worked with Danny Green yet,
Yeah.
and even when Byron Scott was back with us. So I have so much fun doing it. And it's not the part where we're on TV.
Hmm.
It's the part in the green when we watching the game, we be yelling and cursing at players for not, hustling or not rebounding or not making the shot.
Yeah.
Ah, I would have made that, So
Yeah. Yeah. And then
yeah,
you got
that's
to
the
come
fun
on the air
part.
and be somewhat diplomatic too, right? But yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had a nice run there at when it was Time Warner. And then when Spectrum came, that was the end of that. But it
Yeah.
was really fun for me. It was a great training ground for this. I mean, who would have thought, at 43
Hmm.
years on the baseline, I'd be doing this now. But believe it or not, this is the end of season 8 of the podcast. I mean, we've done like 300 episodes. It blows my
That,
mind. So,
that's incredible. But the
yeah.
thing about you is you've taken so many iconic pictures, and the fact that you can, talk about what guys was thinking about in this moment. And
Yeah.
it's just been wonderful to, every time I see you I light up because I just, think about the situations that you've covered. I'm
Mhm.
jealous.
Yeah. Well, you were in a lot of them, my friend. We were trying to find all 7 pictures of you holding up a finger or 2 or 3 to all the way. I have the 7. I remember we
Uh-huh.
shot that one
Yeah.
when you guys won in San Antonio. But
Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures that I have is in 2005.
Mhm.
We all sitting there, and I'm holding my middle son
Yeah,
Cameron, and I'm like, and
sure.
holding the ball. I think that's the only ball that I have from a championship.
Is that
I
right?
think, yeah, because I remember back in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
I ran the ball down
Mm-hmm.
when we beat New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and I gave it to Mitch Richmond,
Oh,
because I was
yeah.
like, yo, man, here's a championship
Yeah.
ball.
For the
And
rock. A
you know
rock
what
for
he
the
ended up
rock.
doing?
Yeah.
He ended up giving it to Rick Fox. Like, here. So Rick Fox has the ball. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He says, I didn't know I was supposed to keep it. I'm like,
Oh my God. I bet he's regretting that now. Yeah, I remember I had that great picture of your son Cameron on your shoulders.
uh-huh.
I don't even know what year he must have been, what, 3,
He
4?
was born in 99. That
Yeah.
think that was 2000. He was like 3. Yeah, he was 3.
With all the confetti and everything going on, or
Yes,
was it
that's
the
one of my
parade?
favorite pictures, man.
Mine
You
too.
know,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
used it as his screensaver too.
Oh, it's beautiful. See,
Yeah,
that warms my heart, man.
yeah.
Robert Horry, my friend, always great to see you. Thank you for being a great friend and a great friend of the podcast, because your insight, man, is just amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. You know, man, I always enjoy reminiscing and talking with you, man. Love you, man.
Absolutely. Right
Yeah.
back at you. And I'll see
Mm.
you soon, I'm sure. Thanks,
All
man.
right. All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Later.
Big thanks to Big Shot Bob, Robert Horry, for a great chat on this episode. 7 championship rings. Wow. Sounds like Hall of Fame material to me. Thanks to our producer, Carlin Barker, and our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Shao. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this episode of the podcast. You know how much we love you guys. Please, folks, tell all your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport, and, of course, our Instagram at Legends of Sport, and my photography on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Folks, please check out the discount link in our social media to our friends at Muggsy. We absolutely, positively love Muggsy's clothes. And the discount link to our good friends at You Should, the best way you should protect your skin for work, play, and everyday life. Thanks again, folks. We'll be back next week for another great episode of the Legends of Sport podcast.